Hello, artists. Today we are talking about atmospheric perspective. And atmospheric perspective is a very fancy art term for showing space, showing that there is air around us. And often, when we notice that the most is when it's foggy out. We can really tell that that air is heavy. It's um, creating distance. And we're going to look at some examples that show how we're going to use this in our own art. So here's a very classic example. So we can see it almost looks like there's some low clouds in between these mountains, especially as it gets farther back. We can tell that there's just air between the front rocks and those mountains far back in the distance. And one way that we're going to create this in our own art is by noticing how dark our colors are. So the things closest to us in the foreground, those rocks and mountains near us, are darker. And as the layers go back, they tend to get lighter. And we are going to use that when we create our own artwork that shows atmospheric perspective. Here's another example, and again, we see that darker layer in the front, and it gets lighter towards the background. And it really does look like there's some air in between those layers, atmosphere. And this last example is just to help us think about what colors we might want to use. And so we have some nice reds and purples. For your project today, you are planning your project. And so you are going to get you can either print this off or you can create your own blank sheet of paper to sketch in your design, but then to think about your color palette. And so I have an example here where the student was thinking about using some yellow greens, and so they sketched out a light to dark color palette and even did some. Our goal for this is kind of that mountain scene. Some mountains with something in the foreground, and how would those color layers look? This is just to practice creating atmospheric perspective. We will spend time talking about it more before we create our final artwork, but I just want you to explore with that and even see if you notice it at all around you. So when you finish with that paper, please submit to this assignment, and I look forward to seeing it. Thank you.